Okay, so we're talking about like how you eat.
Yes.
Because I know you're a busy guy. How do you eat when you're like at work or at home?
I eat fast all the time.
Yeah.
I eat fast at work. I think I've been eating lunch at my desk for 12, 13 years now. And I eat fast at home. I eat fast for breakfast. I eat fast for dinner. I don't know. I just eat fast, too fast.
Do you know why? Like, what is it that causes you to do that?
I have no idea. I think a professional needs to help me sort that one out. It's just how I eat, but I think we've become more conscious of it since my wife and I had our son, Henry, because we're finishing meals and he's still eating. And we're kind of thinking, I think we ate too fast. I think this kid is teaching us to slow down and enjoy our food.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, well, what have you observed with your son? Like, what is he doing when he eats a meal other than squishing things and throwing them on the floor? Although I think...
Well, even that is him exploring like the taste and feel of food. I think for us, what we're trying to do is make the dinner table more of a family connection point.
Yeah.
And then, so we're putting all this effort into, we all gather and put down our toys and put down our work and come gather at the table, and then we scarf our food down as fast as we can. So there's one part of this that isn't quite the intentional like moment of calm in the middle of a busy day that we're trying to build.
Do you think about, because like you and I know each other quite well, you love cooking.
I've never met this man in my life.
But you love cooking. You have like weekly rituals around preparing for the week. And you're so like, I've observed you reshape recipes based on your experience cooking and eating. So does it feel like, how does that feel at odds with the speed with which you...
It feels deeply at odds with the speed, and I can't explain it. Yeah. I will spend all day preparing. For me, a perfect day is centered around a nice trip to the store to pick out ingredients, coming home, making a beloved recipe, sitting down as a family to eat it, and I will still eat it fast. I'll go to a nice restaurant and eat too fast. Yeah. I will... I don't know, but I want to change the behavior because I don't think it's how I want to be eating.
Yeah.
It's just how I do it.
Yeah.
I think I'm often in a rush to be doing something else. My life moves at a pretty fast pace.
Yeah.
And, but I think it would be worth it to spend just the 15 minutes that it takes to actually enjoy food that I love to cook or eat.
Yeah.
But I'm not certain that I'm giving it the time it deserves.
Well, let's see if we can solve this problem.
I like it.
All right. That was great. Rest for the Wicked is produced in Calgary, Alberta on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including Chiniki, Bears Paw, and Good Stoney First Nations, and the home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. We make this acknowledgement as a small gesture of reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples who have lived on these lands for centuries. I'm Adam Rozenhart, an entrepreneur and business owner, and I eat.
I'm Dr. Lisa Bélanger. I am an entrepreneur and behavior change specialist, and I eat.
We're so lucky to be joined today by Jen and Katie. Why don't you introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, what you do.
So my name is Jen, and I'm a registered dietitian.
And my name is Katie. I'm also a registered dietitian, and we own the Nutrition Room, which is a Calgary-based private practice.
Ooh. You bummed me out with the word nutrition, but we carry on. I'm just kidding. We're here to talk with you both about mindful eating, and let's maybe start with like what is mindful eating, and how is it different from dieting?
It's a really good question and a really important question. So mindful eating is about awareness. So it's not a diet. It doesn't address what you eat, when you eat it, how much you eat it, how much you eat. It really is just the practice that you're following while you're eating. So it's about increasing your awareness about your external and internal environment when you're eating, and doing that in a curious way without judgment.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong way to do mindfulness or mindful eating. Like Katie said, it's a practice that you work on over time.
Okay, so what are we doing?
So we are doing a mindful eating exercise here, and the purpose of this is to help you get into the moment to truly experience your food. So we're wanting to get out of your head, remove any sort of, judgment, just approach it with curiosity and merely observe exactly what you're eating. Typically, we encourage people to do it with something that they usually are like, oh, I love this food, or this is what I feel like I have no control over.
Oh, okay.
Because then it helps them figure out, well, how do I truly experience this food, and why don't I have control over it? And how can I remove any of the judgment, really just figure out what it is that I'm eating and be in that present moment when I'm eating it, and see how it changes their interpretation of it. So I think we can all take the food, but just put it in front of us.
Okay.
And we're not going to eat it. We're just going to look at it. So we want to kind of get into the present moment before we start to do this. And this is what we suggest that we do with all of our clients, or that they do if they're at home practicing it. So you just kind of want to make sure that you're sitting comfy. And usually I suggest that people, make sure you're comfortable, but you can put your hands on your belly. And we just want to get into the present moment. So you can close your eyes if that's comfy. And we just want to take a few deep belly breaths where you can feel your stomach expand. And then kind of fall as you exhale. And you can do that 2 to 5 times. Just until your head feels nice and clear. And once you feel ready, you can just kind of draw your attention to the food that you've chosen in front of you. And most people's instinct is to go for it immediately and think about what it tastes like. But we want to think about the full, well-rounded experience when we're eating. So that does mean looking to the interior, which is how does it taste, how does it feel? But we have to focus on the external environment as well. So we have no distractions. It's nice and quiet here, so we're not distracted. But to start, I want you to try to remove any judgment you have about the food that you have in front of you, or any preconceived conceptions that you have about it, which you may have to remind yourself throughout the experience. But I just want you to look at it and kind of make note, and feel free to say out loud, what do you see in terms of color? Can you make any assumptions based on texture, considering what it looks like, temperature? So just tell me any physical observations you have about your food in front of you.
I'm salivating. Is that normal?
Actually, you're going one step ahead and thinking about how you feel with it, which is amazing. No, that's a very
No, that's
good
good.
observation.
Yes, very good though.
Mine is very green, aggressively green, and I presume salt on it or something like that. And I assume it is of room temperature.
How do you feel internally? Are you feeling hungry? You already mentioned you noticed you're salivating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other changes that you've noticed as you've drawn your attention to the food that make you either motivated or demotivated to eat it?
I'm hungry. As I was talking to you before, I realized I have not had breakfast.
So you're like,
And this yes, and this slow version, I'm feeling my hunger that I didn't know I had. I didn't know I had before.
strong awareness.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to confirm my observation. So a part of that is curiosity. Another part of it is the drive of hunger, because I did eat breakfast this morning because I'm a good adult. But yeah, I feel like a curiosity and a desire to consume this thing.
Okay, So you've just mentioned 2 positive benefits of mindfulness and mindful eating, which is one, that you've registered your hunger level, both of you have, which is a benefit of practicing this. So the second thing is that you're curious, which is exactly what we want to be when you're eating. We want to approach the experience with curiosity instead of judgment. So the next thing that we want to do is you can pick it up.
Okay.
And I just want you to feel it. So when you're feeling it, what are you actually feeling in your hand? Anything surprising? Any assumptions that are confirmed? Does it change how you feel about the food?
No, it feels like a nut.
Feels like a nut, looks like a nut.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. It doesn't change the way I feel about it. It's maybe a little cooler than I thought it would be. I don't know why, but
Yeah, that's good.
the temperature difference between it and my hand is noticeable.
Yeah. Okay. What about any textures? Any textures you can feel with your finger that you can try to describe to someone who's maybe never felt a pistachio or a date?
It's rough. So there's like, yeah, it's rougher than I thought. I don't know if that's fair, but yeah.
That is what she said. We're gonna edit that out. Yeah, I guess like it does feel wrinkly, maybe harder than I thought. That's also what she said.
Okay, we clearly can't do class projects together.
I don't know. Yeah, I expected it like to give a little bit when I squeeze it, but it's quite rigid.
Quite rich. So the next thing we want to do is we can smell it. And just maybe if you can try to describe what is the smell like? Can you describe it to someone who maybe can't smell or has never smelled these foods? And when you smell it, does it change how you're feeling? Are you salivating more, less? Does your tummy grumble more?
So I don't think I'll have the words to describe it. I think that's just something I've never practiced. But in saying that, what surprises me is the smell brings me back to memories.
Oh, interesting.
So
That's fun.
I love pistachio macaroons.
Yes.
So a specific bakery. So that's what I...
Oh, I just got like little truth tingles. Like that's very nice.
Truth tingles?
Truth tingles,
Write that
yes.
down. I love that.
Smells associated with memories is one of the primary reasons that people eat, like why they choose the foods that they do. And that doesn't come off as often if you've never done this before. So that's very cool.
Again, I don't know if I could describe it to someone who couldn't smell, but it's got that sort of like brown sugar smell, like molasses almost. And it any apprehension I had about like the way it looks or feels, gone. I want it in my mouth. That is.
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it on our tongue, in our mouth. You can take a bite of it.
I was going to say like,
Yes.
okay.
You can have a bite, you can have a bite.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't need to take a bite of yours. But we don't want to chew it yet. You just kind of want to let it sit on your tongue.
Okay.
And when you do that, we're going to go through all the senses that you can and try to be that wine connoisseur and describe what it is that you're feeling in terms of texture and temperature. What are you tasting? How does that change your body's reaction from before you put it in your mouth? And we're trying to get that sensory experience. Once you feel like you've kind of gathered all of those observations and you're like, okay, I could explain to someone who's maybe never eaten a pistachio in their life, then you can start to chew it, but we want to do it quite slowly. So take a bite, think about how does it feel crunching between your teeth or not crunching between your teeth? Does it change the taste of it? And what do you hear as you're chewing?
Okay.
And then we can discuss so that we're not doing this with our mouths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear Lisa's stomach growling.
For me, I tasted just salt. Like when I put it in my mouth, it was like that overwhelming salt sensation.
Like you puckered almost?
Yeah, and it's like almost tasted below my tongue, like just the way that I observed it. And then when I bit into it, it was an explosion of flavor. That was really cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And did you guys hear anything?
Sounded like a nut being bitten.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounded like a nut.
Yeah.
I could sort of hear the mixture of, or what I assume was like the mixture of saliva
Yeah.
and this kind of like, I don't know, rolling around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had that intrusive thought was like, oh, can everyone else hear this?
Yes.
You know?
Interesting.
So I was like, uh-oh, am I disturbing people? Being my date.
Yeah. Isn't that
Me and my
interesting?
date.
Yeah. Me and my date, are we disturbing you, honey? Yeah.
If we were to continue this practice, we would do it until your body feels satisfied with that food. And how that translates for someone with chips is, I know after 15 chips, I actually do feel satisfied.
Right.
There's the absence of hunger, there's the absence of that craving, but I'm usually in front of the TV like this.
So absent-minded.
Yes. And so that's how I often use it, is for those kind of reasons. Yeah.
I love that because I think when I love a bag of like Miss Vicky's sea salt and malt vinegar, and I'm satisfied when the bag is empty.
Yes. Yeah.
But I always feel terrible after eating a whole, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to remember that we're capable of like being really in touch with how our stomach feels.
It's that, and I feel like so for so many of us, at least how I grew up, it was finish your plate.
There's the
I'm going to
finish the
give you
plate club.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a
Yes.
portion
Clean
of
plate club.
food, and that's when you
Yes.
stop.
So generally what we suggest is people to just do like a quick body scan before they start eating, just to kind of assess hunger level and generally how your body's feeling. This is not meant to be like a 5-minute body scan. It literally is just, where's my head at? What's my stomach feeling like? Am I shaky? Am I grumpy? Am I not hungry? And then getting into the moment. As you go through the meal, the purpose is not to do it as slowly as possible.
Thank God.
Yeah.
We do want to slow down somewhat because we tend to eat like really quickly and then we miss the meal. But kind of just walking yourself through those same prompts that we did with like the date and the pistachio. What are the different colors that I'm seeing? What am I assuming about the food based on what it looks like? And then once you're eating it, again, trying to be that wine connoisseur of what are the flavors that I'm getting? What's the texture like? And every time you eat, this isn't the goal. I mean, to slow down that much and to think about it that specifically. But just like Jen said, if you're doing even just one of those elements while you're eating, you're practicing being more mindful, which strengthens your ability to do it. So it just becomes more automatic every time you go to eat.
How does mindfulness change the way we think about hunger and like food cues?
Absolutely. So it definitely does. Usually when you're not eating mindfully, you're distracted, we're kind of disconnected from our body. We may be in our head or out of our head and sort of just hovering above that meal and not even really present for it. And so you're generally not aware of, well, what does my hunger feel like? What is it right now? And we tend to eat more on, well, this is the clock, this is the food available, I'm just eating until the plate is empty. Versus if you can be more mindful, bring yourself more awareness to that present experience and remove the judgment, you can tell more what your unique hunger cues are because they're different. Your hunger cues are going to be different than your hunger cues are going to be different from my hunger cues. So I can't tell you when to eat. You have to be the one to know your body the best to judge, okay, this is when I'm hungry. This is when I'm uncomfortably hungry. This is when I'm comfortably hungry or the absence of hunger. So it kind of helps you approach that meal in more of a way that's going to be in portions that are more in line with what you need in that moment. It's going to totally change your satisfaction as well. You're going to really realize what you're eating, really experience it, and it might change your food choices. So you might try something and be like, no, that's not what I want today.
Yeah.
Or you eat it and you're like, yes, that's what I need today, and this is what I'm going to focus on for this meal. So it really just kind of helps you learn more of, well, this is what I'm feeling right now in this moment. I'm going to go based on what my body's saying, and rather than being disconnected or focusing on sort of the food noise.
So a very quick little mindfulness activity is what does hunger feel like for you? If you were to think about you as a person, how would you describe hunger in 1 or 2 words?
I think you should answer that question. I'm trying to think about it. Do you know?
No, it comes back to not having the language to even talk about it, because like you heard my belly rumble before that. Like
that's very important. So usually when I ask people about hunger, what does hunger feel like to you? They stare at me like this.
Yeah.
And they say, I don't know. And then they'll say, maybe my stomach rumbling. And that is actually very late hunger.
Oh, it's too late.
Yes, too late. And so mindfulness helps us recognize early signs of hunger and kind of work towards creating that safety in our body, where our body knows if I'm a little bit hungry, she will feed me, he will feed me, versus like I have to grumble, get hangry, get anxious, get crazy before I'm fed.
So sorry, hunger is also too late.
Too late, yes. So an early hunger cue might be you're working away and you look at the clock, when is lunch? That's an early hunger cue.
So we have to think about food from both a psychology standpoint, but we also do have to think of it from a clinical standpoint. So us as professionals, our responsibility is to observe both of those different things that happen with our clients and our patients, and then bring them together so that they can create a path forward in the most sustainable way. Because some people do have to focus on their sodium or their carb intake because they have diabetes, and we have to think about food in clinical aspects. But if we only think about things in that way, and we're not thinking about the psychology or the relationship that we have with food, you're not going to find success. So how we differentiate it is we assess the psychological parts of food, and then we help people align that with empowered food choices, which is going to be more of those clinical recommendations, so that they can still have that positive relationship with food, create those sustainable changes, but they're still meeting their physical health goals.
Before we started rolling, you talked about the conversation you have with all of your clients is, what is your relationship to food?
Yes.
Talk to us about why you ask that question.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to know where people are coming in at. So if people say, like, I have a really negative or stressed relationship around food. When I think about eating, I get worked up and I don't know what to do and I kind of freeze. Or some people will say, like, food is fuel, like I don't feel anything towards it. And so depending on what people say, we have a very different approach. So if people have more of a negative relationship with food, we're going to be really mindful about the words that we use around food. We don't want people to feel like food has any moral value. Like, we're not going to say, don't have these bad foods, or these are good foods for you, because there's stuff there. And so we try to come in with more neutrality, even if that person needs more of that clinical piece.
Sure.
So if they are trying to follow a lower sodium diet, we may say choose more of these foods because they are a little bit naturally lower in sodium, for example, instead of these foods are going to be bad for your blood pressure. So we just kind of choose our language a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting.
How does enjoyment factor in to that?
We talk a lot about satisfaction, like the satisfaction factor of a meal.
That is
or
not what I said. I said enjoyment. No, but I on this example, I was trying to think about like how I build in food to the day, and often I will make a point to step away from my desk to eat lunch, as an example, unlike some people. And
what the hell?
But if I eat a salad, there's satisfaction but not enjoyment.
Okay.
Right? So I feel
Because you don't
satisfied
win
and I
friends
feel
with someone?
better. Yeah. I feel better after I consume it. I feel better for the rest of my day.
Right.
But I didn't enjoy that salad.
Okay.
Can you differentiate between how you perceive enjoyment versus satisfaction?
So enjoyment for food to me is I like the taste of it. Salads are fine.
So you just don't like salad, I think.
It's fine. But
And-
I don't like.
And intellectually, like, it's nutritious.
Correct. And if I consume it, I'll feel good after, as in like it's a good fuel for me.
Right.
Midday. But I
So
don't
it may
enjoy
just be that
it is not chocolate.
yes,
1,000%.
yes. So this does come up for us with clients, and what you may be feeling after you finish a salad is the absence of hunger.
Correct.
Like you are no longer hungry, but
Tis fuel.
Yes, 'tis fuel. I can function now that my tummy is full.
Yeah.
But the satisfaction piece is actually the enjoyment. And so in order to get satisfaction from that meal, you need to add something that you enjoy.
Earlier in the conversation, you talked about, we've talked about no judgment with mine, or trying to set that aside. What are the differences between eating mindlessly and mindfully, like from a benefits perspective? Because you said, Jen, I think you said, it's okay sometimes to just,
Totally. Yes.
right? So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when we eat mindlessly, our brain is kind of looking for rewards. And so that could be like eating on your phone, or it could be watching TV, and the quality of those rewards is not as important. It's just like constant quantity. We're kind of looking for more and more. And that's that mindless piece. And we aren't giving ourselves the opportunity to really feel or get quality kind of inputs that are giving us the good endorphins, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we're eating more mindfully, that need for constant reward systems in our brain, it kind of like craves those things more and more. And so when we slow down to pause and do, even if it's, hiding in your pantry to have like a little moment of, pause and enjoyment, that actually helps even in other mindless eating experiences. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Kind of,
But I think of it with coffee. Like I think so many of us consume coffee mindlessly.
Oh, yeah.
Like how quickly can I get this magic bean juice in me?
I never want to hear you use that phrase again.
So emotional eating is a valid reason to eat, but it's also one of the main reasons people eat. So when we think of emotional eating, we think of stress and anxiety and anger, but we also eat for joy and celebration.
Yeah.
And so there's like that two-sided. And so if it feels, again, we've kind of talked about this, if it feels like it's not serving you, then it's just an opportunity to be curious about that emotional eating. And there are strategies to kind of work through that without that shame spiral that comes with, I just ate a whole bag of chips, I suck, I'm gonna try again, I'll try to be better tomorrow.
You are basically, that's my internal dialogue.
It's everybody's.
Yeah.
And to normalize that, it is everyone's. When we say that, like, come home, eat your meal, you've eaten perfectly all day, and then kids are in bed or kitchen's cleaned, and then you sit down in front of the TV and you just eat whatever it is, mindlessly, you turn off the TV to go to bed and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? I suck. I can't do this. I'm never going to be the version of myself I want to be. I'm just going to eat perfectly tomorrow. A failure spiral. And that shame spiral is what keeps us on the trajectory of that. So then you go to bed and you're like, I'm going to do better tomorrow. So you wake up, you kind of undereat for most of the day or don't fuel yourself properly. And then by the time you get to the end of the day, your body's probably hungry. And so that's why you're, needing all of those calories but anytime I explain that to people, they're like, yeah, how did you know? And I'm like, it's science. We all experience it. And that's like, we physiologically need to feed ourselves better in the day. So, yeah.
How I guess I'm getting kind of specific here. My wife is a teacher. She does not have time to do anything other than look after the kids in her class all day. And when she comes home, we'll make dinner and stuff, but then she'll snack all night and then feel like crap about it afterwards. Yeah. Do you have any advice for folks who, like, I can sit here and feel like, oh, I think you could probably take 5 minutes. She's like, you have no idea. So for folks whose jobs are that insane, or parents who are always on with their kids, or what advice would you give those people?
Oftentimes what we do with people is much less about like the nutrition piece and more about the management piece, the lifestyle management, or the systems. Yes, the systems that you have in place. So what likely happens is, your wife is busy all day, has no time for anything, gets home, is starving. We get to the weekend, busy with whatever trying to get groceries in the fridge, clean. And so there's no time to even think about what we could build into the week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes. And lots of people also come to us just for recipe ideas. Like people are like, I have no idea what to make and the internet overwhelms me. And so we will talk to people about their day, their likes, their dislikes, what's worked before. And we'll say, well, why don't you try something like this and keep it in your desk? It won't go bad. And if you have 2 seconds, just like handful of nuts and a piece of cheese. We also talk about how like foods don't have to be like the most healthy in order to work for you. So sometimes I'll recommend a protein drink and just sip on that throughout the day. It doesn't have to be like eggs and toast and fruit, even though of course whole foods are ideal. But if you're super busy, sip on something or have a granola bar. It may not be like on the nutrition label perfect, but it's better than not having anything.
When we did the little tasting with the date and the pistachio, it occurred to me that I almost never take a moment to smell my food.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's so much the experience, right?
Yeah, totally. Yes. I'm just like, gotta get a handful of spaghetti.
You're just assuming that it'll be great and you go for it.
Yeah, but like even that, I'm thinking now, like what a weird little joy that was. Right. So now I think I'm just gonna smell my food. Yeah. That sounds crazy.
Somebody walks into your office while you're doing it and you're like, nothing?
Don't look at me. So for people that you're starting to bring awareness to mindful eating to, what's like one exercise you do with them just to get started? Is it what we did here?
Not often at the beginning, but we introduce it. Okay. But I was saying to Katie, I was asking her if when we bring this up, do people do it right away? Very rarely do my clients do it right when I bring it up. They're like, seems weird. Yeah. I don't have time for that. So one of the things that I suggest is just trying to eat a meal in a non-distracted environment. So try one meal at any time. It doesn't even have to be weekly or month, like just one time from now until when we see each other again, so you can tell me about it. Yeah. Just eat in a chair, at a table, no phone, no computer, no TV, and just eat and just see how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm actually experiencing anxiety. I'm serious.
Yes. And lots of people are an immediate no. I won't be able to do that. Yeah. But that is usually the simplest thing I can suggest that you can do anytime. If it comes up, do it.
So how does mindfulness in eating like help us with energy and focus and productivity? How does it make us better people?
Yes.
How does it make us better producers is basically what you just asked.
Yeah, how can we serve capitalism through mindful eating?
Well, like Katie was talking about, like we have a physiological need to eat. So if we go long periods of time without eating, there is no gas for our car. We don't function as well. We don't feel as well. Our mood is not as good. We potentially don't sleep as well. Right. And so just by being mindful, for example, about our hunger, that can lead to being better fed throughout the day. So if you're like, I am hungry and I am aware that I have no food and I have no plans to be around food. So this is something that, tomorrow or next week, I want to be better prepared for. So I think it just sets us up a little bit better for success in terms of all of those markers of health. So like sleep, mood, energy, health even. So when people go long periods of time without eating, there are physiological responses in our bodies to keep us alive and keep us functioning. So an example is, if you don't eat anything, but you still need to do your job, you need to think, you need to breathe, you need to walk to the store, we need a source of energy for that. So if it's not coming from food, it will come from our liver. Our liver has a backup system of sugar or glucose.
I worked with about 12 ER physicians, and we were doing a burnout seminar. And after talking to them, almost half of them did not eat once on shift. Yeah. Now their shifts are
12-hour shifts.
No, their shifts specifically were 8 hours, but you don't get off until the last patient is handed off. Yeah. So it ends up being a flux between 8 and 10 hours. Yeah. And they didn't eat. And then one of them reported not peeing on shift, for an entire 8+ hours. And I was like, I feel like you guys know the things. Yeah. I feel like I shouldn't reflect this back to you. But do you think your cognitive abilities are at their best when you have not received a fuel source, so much so that you're not even producing waste.
Yeah.
Like that is absurd. I would not want you to be my physician.
Right.
Like I would not, don't make decisions when you're hangry.
Yeah, right? And so over time, if our bodies are relying on these systems to keep us alive, those systems will eventually break down, like a car. If you don't take care of a car, parts will start to fail.
What is the role of mindful eating for weight management or metabolic conditions? How does that relate?
Yeah, so kind of like what we were speaking about your wife.
My wife?
Your wife. No, I'm just in that, like, there are lots of people who aren't able to eat in the day, and then they kind of overeat later on in the day. And, you know, physiologically, our bodies can only handle so much food at once. Ideally, we want it like evenly spread out and like, you know, eat when you're hungry. And so when like people come to us for weight loss, and we don't spend a lot of time worrying about the number on the scale. We worry about how people feel and, you know, the emotional eating piece, things that contribute to weight, like eating everything after 6 p.m. kind of thing. And when we eat in larger quantities, especially as our body is getting ready to go to bed for the night, we're shutting down the systems. It's harder for our body to keep up. Like an example, and I try not to be too sciencey about this, but if you're having a bunch of food in the evening, then our pancreas has to release a bunch of insulin in order to deal with all of the sugar in our blood. But if our pancreas keeps doing that, then we could potentially get a little bit of insulin resistance over time. And, you know, we get storage. Insulin is a storage hormone. And so sometimes I explain to people, if we keep hammering that system and we keep eating all of our calories at night before we shut down for the evening, then all that's happening is storage of energy. And so in order to combat that, we need to think about the beginning part of our day. Can we bring in some mindfulness? Are we hungry? Yes, great. Now let's work on eating. And then do you notice in the evenings that you're not as hungry? Like you've fueled better in the day, and then we're not getting that response, that big insulin surge before bed, and then shutting down for the night.
We did like the slow eating exercise, but mindful eating isn't about eating slow. Right. So
it doesn't have to be.
Right.
It's a part of.
How do you explain that to clients who are like, oh, you said a lot of the response you guys, I don't have time.
Yes. So I think eating slowly is one of the strategies that we use. We may bring it up with people and say, could you spend 5 more minutes at the table? And some people say yeah, and some people say no. But if that doesn't work for people and they're just always going to eat their meals quickly, then we'll use another strategy, which is just, what do you taste, or what do you see, or what is your environment? Can you eat quickly but with no distractions? So we tried to go based on what people have the capacity for, I guess, or what their kind of lifestyle is. If someone's, you know, busy in an office, back-to-back meetings, then maybe fast eating is like their only option.
Right. And it still means they're eating.
Yes.
It still means they're getting substance.
Yeah, because the most important thing for us is that people are well fed. We want to make sure that you're well fed, mostly evenly spread throughout the day, so that, again, you're not doing like all of your eating in the evening.
I honestly think that's such a different message. Like it makes so much sense, but such a different message than I've ever been exposed to.
Yeah,
where it's like
here.
our goal is actually to have that, like the more consistency over the day versus targeting any one.
Yes.
One of the things that I've started doing with my business partner, we share an office together, is on Mondays at lunch, we'll go to the grocery stores and get snacks for the week.
We do that sometimes.
Yeah, and then it's just like in the middle of the morning or the middle of the afternoon, he's like, do you want some like goldfish pretzels or whatever? And it just like, it does make those, the moments where you're supposed to have your meals feel less like, oh my God, I need to eat something. You know, it just feels, and it brings down anxiety for me. And it just makes me think like, okay, I'm not going to die because I haven't eaten anything all day.
What do you think are the biggest barriers of your clients for mindful eating? What do they?
Time.
Taking away the distractions, people get very reliant on their phones, their computers, having that constant stimulation.
Right.
So it is very hard to convince them, maybe you turn the TV off when it's supper time. So I'd say that is, and patience, because right, it's flexing that mindfulness part of your brain is like a muscle. So like we're not going to walk into the gym and expect that we're going to lift 100 pounds right off the get-go. You're going to start with 5 and then you're going to work your way up. So people have a really hard time that when they start practicing mindful eating, they can't just do it for 10 minutes straight. They can maybe only do it for like a couple seconds.
Totally.
And that's fine, but they feel like a failure because their expectation is I'm going to do it for the whole meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole concept's so interesting. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
So our website is thenutritionroom.com. So they're welcome to go there. They can request a free meet and greet call with us. We also have 3 other team members.
Awesome.
And we're all practiced in the same areas. So if they just want to have a little conversation, get a little bit of information, get to know us, they can absolutely go there. Or our Instagram handle is _nutrition room. So they can go there.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
for
Thank you.
thanks for having us.
It was an amazing conversation. Yeah.
I'll never look at food the same again. So.
I will. Like I love it. Hey, gorgeous, get in here. Rest for the Wicked was filmed on location in Calgary, Alberta by Philip Harrison and Centerpin Media. Pre and post-production by Conscious Works and Adverb Communications.
You can connect with us through the Rest for the Wicked Instagram and TikTok accounts at Rest for the Wicked Pod. And make sure you subscribe to Rest for the Wicked wherever pods are cast.
I've never heard anyone say that before, so I wanted to
I like it.
We'd love to hear about your experiences and struggles with different forms of rest. And if you have an idea for a future episode, let us know that too.
In the meantime, remember, get some rest so you can stay wicked.